Hello, this is Everard Junction, and here's another sort of general layout update on what I've managed to get on with over the last month or so. Now progress has slowed down quite a lot due to the cold weather. I was coming up here for a bit, but it did eventually get pretty unbearable, and I just couldn't do any work. It was far too cold. So now it is starting to warm up again a little bit, so I've managed to do a few bits and pieces that I said I was going to try and get done last time. And I'll also let you know what various sort of next videos are going to be and what I'm planning on doing next, really. Right, well, the first and most obvious change is the introduction of the back scene over at the end of the layout. And this is just a piece of hardboard I got out of the garage and cut to size. And I've also added a little bit over there just to fill it in and make it all look nice. I've also stuck down the tunnel portals and created some sort of insides for the tunnel. Okay, so just quickly, some of you may be wondering, well, why are you making the inside of a tunnel? You can't see anything in the tunnel anyway, so what's the point of making it? Well, there's a very good reason for making the inside to a tunnel, and what I've done is I've removed one of them so you can get a better idea. Here, it looks like a tunnel. It looks like there's actually something that the train goes into. It's dark, and towards the end you can't see anything. That's what a real tunnel looks like. Now, if you didn't bother doing that and you just put the tunnel portal down, that's what you actually see. Even if you were to put a hillside over the top of here and block off that side there, you would still see the bare baseboard on the insides of the tunnel. You can still see it over here slightly because I haven't quite finished ballasting yet. But that is basically why I make the inside of a tunnel. It just looks a lot better when the train goes into the tunnel because it actually disappears into some darkness. I did the same thing on the old tunnel on this old part of the layout before I dismantled it, and I was very glad I did it. It really adds a great effect to it. Okay, making the inside of a tunnel is really very easy. Now all you need is some sandpaper that's preferably black and some relatively thick cardboard. Now the first thing you want to do is take your tunnel portal off of the layout, lay it onto the cardboard, and then draw around the edge of it so you get a nice outline, and then cut out that piece of cardboard. And obviously you'll need two, one for the back and one for the front. Then just put some cardboard sides on it, and temporarily I held this together with duct tape and also ran a load of glue down the inside. So whilst the glue dried, I just used some duct tape to hold it together. Once that's dried, then get some black sandpaper. You want a very fine grit preferably, so I've got some 1200. And then all you do, because it's paper, it bends nice and easily, is you just run it around the inside of the tunnel with some glue and push it all into the right place. And then to keep it there, take the cardboard cutout that you got from cutting out that hole and wedge it back in, and that'll keep a piece of paper in there nicely. And then you end up with a beautiful looking tunnel inside, and it really makes a difference. So you can see there's the tunnel with nothing in it, no insides or anything, just the base and the back seam. So now if I take this and we slot it in, you want to make sure you measure it all up so it's a nice snug fit, and push it roughly into the right place, and there you go. And you can see already that looks much better, so it really is something worth doing. Something else I've also done is I've started making a few cardboard cutouts for the hillside that's going to run along the back of the layout here. Again, I've just used the same cardboard I used to make the insides of the tunnel, and you can see it starts off quite tall and it gradually works its way down into nothing. The next stage will be to put some sort of cardboard cross hatching across it to make it a bit more sort of sturdy. And then from that point on I can then go and apply the paper mache or the plaster bandage to create a nice hillside. I will do a video on that, and once that's all dried I'll be able to actually add grass to it and start making a nice little hillside. I've already started making some nice trees to put over there, as well as on the hill that's going to go over the top of this bit here, and there'll also be some trees down here. I'm thinking of having a sort of a small hill, nothing too major, but just something to make it look a little bit different, really separate the two lines, and then on that there'll be some smaller sort of trees so they don't sort of block your vision, and then the further you get to that tunnel, the bigger the trees will become, and then you have quite a nice looking sort of forest up there. And then that should look pretty good. I've also added some dummy point motors. You can see them just there and there, and they're just little models of the point motors that are used in real life. They don't actually work or do anything, they're just a little bit of plastic. And all I've done at the moment is just glued them in. They'll need to be weathered up, and I'll need to make some cable trophins that run between them to make it all look like it all links together. But that's coming along quite nicely. I've got a few dotted about. I will eventually do it to the rest of the layout as well. And I've also got to finish off the cable trophins and put some orange pipes in, and generally make a little bit of sort of track infrastructure in terms of the wiring that you would have in real life. It just adds more detail, makes it look a little bit more interesting, and of course I need to weather the whole lot as well, so that'll get done at some point. It is now starting to warm up, so I'll actually be able to start painting again. I haven't been able to paint anything for a good while now, probably not since the beginning of November, as the weather got too cold for spraying. Following on from painting, I've received a number of requests on how to weather a loco, or how I do it, and I haven't really been able to address that due to the cold weather and the fact that, you know, it's very cold and all the paint dries quite badly. But now it is starting to warm up. I'm going to start looking at putting together an airbrushing video on how I weather the engines. Now, the guide will just be on how I do it. There are hundreds of different ways, and there's many books and ideas on how to do it, so if you're still not convinced or sure, then get a book about it or something. But I will do a video on how to create something that looks roughly along those lines. I'll probably weather one of my Class 37s, I'm not sure which one yet, and that'll be given a nice sort of grimy look to it, because it's far too shiny and new at the moment. There'll probably be another video to that which will explain how I weather the passenger coaches and the passenger engines. They were generally kept cleaner, so you need a more careful application of the paint. Here's a quick look of some of the trees that I've been making. These are the Woodland Scenics trees that come in a kit. So you end up with a load of this funny stuff, which is like loads of little branches with loads of foliage on it, and you break that up and put it on the tree. And there's also, you can always use this stuff as well, this clump foliage. That comes with it as well. And then you have a load of plastic tree armatures like that, and you bend all the stalks into various positions and apply a sticky glue called Hobby Tack, which is that little pot over there. And it's quite therapeutic, and you can make quite a few trees in one go. It's just something to sit down in the evening and do. So I was building these little trees last night. You can see I've got a little forest going on down here of different trees, and they look quite good. So I'm probably going to get some more of those trees. And you can see that the foliage with the little branches in it really makes a difference. It really makes it look like a real tree. It's quite impressive. I wasn't too sure about it when I first saw it, but it really does look like a tree. So I'll be getting some more of these. I might do a video on sort of how to do them, but the box is very good at explaining what to do, and it's fairly self-explanatory. There's not much science to it. This is one of the smaller trees made using the clump foliage, which is this stuff. That doesn't have the little branches in it, but for the smaller trees it doesn't matter, and you can see that looks pretty awesome as well. So I'll be getting a few more different colours and making quite a nice little forest, because something the layout really lacks at the moment is different trees, or any trees at all, to be honest. So that's something I really want to actually get on with and make sure I've got a good selection of different trees. Something important to note about the trees is the trees come in all different shapes and sizes, and a lot of layouts, certainly my old one, any trees that I did get were relatively small, and they weren't very big at all. So a typical tree is sort of perhaps about that tall that you would get for a model layout. Now, if you go outside and look at some trees, they are actually massive. Some of them are amazingly tall. So for those of you who are thinking of building any of these Woodland Scenics trees or anything like that, I would advise you to not be afraid of going big and getting some really, really big trees, because they put a lot of depth into the layout. You see we got Class 56 over here, 00 gauge, 1/76 scale Hornby engine, and then we put my tree next to it. Now when you looked at that on its own, it looked massive, but if you actually compare the engine to the tree, that's just a typical very tall tree, because most trees are pretty much taller than double-decker buses. A double-decker bus comes up to about there, and this is a bit taller than that, so that's probably the biggest you can go. But certainly don't be afraid to get some big trees, because then when you get smaller trees to put around it, it really adds a lot of variety to the layout, makes it look quite interesting. And you can use these big trees to hide joins in back scenes and stuff, and you can also put them at the back of a layout or in a corner to give an effect of something that's really building up and actually quite large, and they just generally make things look quite cool. So that's why I went for some of these really big trees. Something else, just quickly before I go, that I get asked quite a lot is, can you do like a full view of the layout? It's quite difficult to do it, so I'm going to try. It's difficult because the layout is so big, and I've basically filled the room with it, so I can't fit it all into one shot, but I'll just sort of pan around a bit, and those of you who haven't seen my layout tour video I did a fair few months ago will get a rough idea of where the tracks go and what actually happens. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for now. The next video will hopefully be along a bit sooner than this one, due to the fact that it's now warming up, and hopefully I will have done a little bit more scenery. I'm going to start thinking about building that large embankment, and I'll show you a few more trees as well.